Sorry for the tight squeeze.
Oh, I gotta close the project so that way I can pull the changes.
Yeah, gotta get those updated changes. Oh dear. I'm not gonna have fun with this.
This is where the fun begins.
This is where the fun ends.
Where the fun ends. No more fun.
I've only got 2 more of these to get and then I'm done.
And then no more Halo. Halo is over.
Yes. The true goal of Halo all along, to collect all the skulls.
Master Chief, mind explaining what you're doing? Sir, trying to collect all the skulls.
Trying to collect the skulls. Whose skulls?
It's none of your business, Colonel. I don't know why I'm talking like Solid Snake.
I'm Solid Snake's biggest fan.
This is a really old Earth game called Metal Gear.
You should play it sometime.
Sir.
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
Just ends with Hong Kong. Instead of over and out and stuff like that, everyone should just end their transmission with Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. that just goes throughout the entirety of like the Halo series completely unexplained. Like anytime anyone asks why someone signs off with Hong Kong, it just gets ignored.
Yeah.
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. The fuck does that even mean?
Monkey.
Monkey.
You have shown me. Monkey.
Monkey. Monkey.
Monkey. Alright. I have made sure to close all of the hentai tabs.
Ah, good, good. We can't let people know what off-brand you choose.
Yep. Alright, give it about 5 more minutes before we really get started. Give a little bit of extra time for people to get in. Oh, excuse me.
Could you please stop?
No.
It's still alive. It's dead. It's down. I'm out. See ya.
Here I come.
No, there is no Banshee bomb.
Wong.
Wong. Bye, Elite.
Speaking of Solid Snake, he semi-canonically doesn't like Sonic, at least that's what he says. Kodak Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I actually know that one. How's it going, Mr. Space Borg?
Wow, Snake doesn't like Sonic.
Something about that headshot bothers me. Whee!
It's because he's blue, isn't it? Picking on the blue guy.
That little ground thing took a while to disappear. Oh, did you ever get that thing figured out where it'll rotate properly, or
Which one will rotate properly?
the ground particle? But it does not look like it does.
Oh, the rock. No.
How's it going, Azirio?
Breaking stuff.
Ah, yes. Pinnacle Entertainment. That's the pinnacle of Infinity Plus gameplay right there.
Ow.
Ooh, that's close to a bomb. Got some character snapping problems up there, I can see. Moving a little too fast.
Well, there is a Banshee bomb.
Alrighty. We don't have too much to go over today.
Nope.
Got some Knuckles things to go over, some Wisp things to go over, and I guess we can go over some stuff involving Tails and Silver.
Bop.
I've had a very lazy week.
You have. So have I.
Unfortunately, I have had a lazy week, so. Oh. I believe that was supposed to hit him, and it did not. Alright, so. Oh, yeah, dash panel errors. That's to be expected. What do we start with? Well, Emmanuel's not here, so... Well, he is here. He's just checking on something at the moment. That'll be here, but he's got some stuff involving Knuckles, so I'm going to hold off on Knuckles for a little bit. Let's swap over to Snock. Let's go over the Wisp changes real quick.
Alright, time to break the engine.
Okay.
Well, now he's here.
There's Emmanuel. After I just swapped off of Knuckles.
Your timing is impeccable as always.
Oh, you're streaming already?
Yes, I started it like
Nice.
almost 10 minutes ago.
We started anyway.
So, one thing we didn't show off, I think I showed it off on Twitter. I don't remember. That all the wisps, or at least all of these colors wisps, animate inside their little capsules, and the capsules also rotate and animate now.
We got the visual flair.
This is starting to look a little bit better. The capsules rotate, little wisps animate inside them. These animations are based off of their capsule animations in colors.
Had to be reanimated from scratch.
Yep, Reese reanimated them from scratch because we couldn't get their animation assets from colors.
And Reese is awesome.
Different rigs.
Yeah, all the rigs were broken anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. And if you break open a capsule, you know, slow down time, it plays a little animation. So, that's just some visual work with the wisps. The Lost World wisps are not animated yet. However, we have just today done some research on how they are animated inside of the capsules. We know Crimson Eagle, we know Asteroid, Magenta Rhythm. We know how they animate inside of their capsules. But as for Black Bomb, Grey Quake, and Irie Lightning, we're going to base their animations off of the animations they have in TSR, where they, if you have a wisp, they like appear behind your car and like bounce around behind your car. That's what the animations are going to be based on. Oh, same thing with Ghost. Ghost is going to have that too.
Yeah, because that's the only appearance of Ghost, so it's the only one we could pull an animation reference from.
Yep.
I guess we should do Energy White at some point, but that's not a big deal.
Oh yeah, well, Energy White, yeah.
So we've not really done a whole lot with Ivory Lightning. I would like to get Ivory Lightning done here soon. It shouldn't be too difficult to do what we need to do with him. But currently all he does is track homing targets, which he is supposed to be able to. So that's about all that Ivory Lightning can do at the moment. Oh, and you can also do a light speed dash, but there are not any rings around here, so that's a problem I'll have to fix. I know how to fix it though, so. Those rings are across the ground, so it was gonna have problems anyway. Yeah, I know. Setting the pitch multiplier doesn't work if there's no music. But the main thing with the wisps that we have worked on is Magenta Rhythm. So one thing that we wanted to do with Magenta Rhythm, and we didn't, I ended up deciding not to do so because it would have required us to install a whole bunch of plugins into Unreal Engine, and we would prefer to like avoid doing that if need be. But what we originally wanted to do was base the Magenta Rhythm's BPM and functionality off of the in-game level music that you can change dynamically based on the level. But after looking into it, that's not necessarily all that easy or necessarily possible without a whole bunch of plugins and stuff. So we didn't mess with it.
Yeah, it's pay to win.
No, you don't have to pay for the plugins, but
It's just we don't really want to add plugins.
yeah. So I ended up just creating a small rhythm system myself where you can, here, let me open up the blueprint real quick. Where are these pings? All right. Don't know why you had to message me now about that, but okay. So the thing about Magenta Rhythm is whenever it starts up, it sets a timer that, which the timer's tick rate can be changed, hopefully dynamically between levels. We're planning on implementing a integration with the blueprint manager blueprint here, or the level manager blueprint, where in between levels you should be able to set the variables inside of Magenta Rhythm. That way each individual level can have its own like theme and rhythm and stuff to give the Wisp a little bit more, like, what's the words I'm looking for? More dynamic.
Make it more variable.
Yeah, make it more variable, a little more dynamic livelihood going on. Make it so that the give it a little bit more personality, and instead of just like, oh, every single time you use Magenta Rhythm, it's always going to be the exact same song, and it's always going to be the exact same way every time. This here will give it a little bit more customization with it, so that way if you want to change how it functions in between levels, you should be able to do so once we get it set up that way. But there are a couple of things that you can change, like the maximum beat timer. So what essentially happens is, as this timer runs, it's going to increment a variable up every single time the timer hits, and you can change how much it increases by per tick. So currently it's ticking every 1/10 of a second, and every 1/10 of a second it'll increase the variable by 0.2. So essentially once you hit a whole second, it should increase to 1, I believe. No, wait. It'll increase to 20 or 2, I think. I could be wrong. My math is obviously probably very off at the moment. But you can also set a maximum how hard it can go, or how high it can go between levels. And essentially what it does is, what it will do is whenever you press the jump button, it will check to see what this beat timer float is at the time of you pressing the button. And it will check to see if it is in between a minimum or maximum, which you can also set. So the minimum is 1.3 and the maximum being 3, which is equal to the same as the other maximum. And depending on if you're in between that float range, it will decide whether or not you can jump. And if you can jump, what it will do is it will then launch you up in the air based on what it is. So it has to be between 1.3 or 3 by default. So if it turns out to be like 1.8, it will then multiply a default jump height, which is 500, by your float timer, which would be 500 times 1.8, and then add that to your up vector. So the closer and closer you get to a perfect beat jump, the higher and higher you'll manage to jump. And we even have a system here where if it is nearly equal to perfect, so if the maximum is 3 and you get like with an error tolerance of 2 or 0.2, so if you got anywhere between like 0.2 of the maximum, or I probably set this variable to be custom as well. So if you got like 2.8 or like 2.9 or 3, it would recognize that as a perfect jump, and then it will multiply the original jump height by an extra multiplier before multiplying your beat float into it, giving you an even extra higher jump. So of all of the wisps, Magenta Rhythm is one kind of the more complicated ones to explain, just due to how it is set up.
It's based off the music, and music is complicated.
Well, it's not based off the music.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's not based off the music, it's not tied to the music, but you can, in between levels, adjust the variables so that is essentially akin to the music. You can manually set it up. Or if you wanted to do something else, like if you want to give it its own song in between levels, or between the different levels, then you could do it that way as well. So, to give a better visual cue of what it does, it'll be difficult to see because it'll be in the top left. We don't have a UI set up for it yet, but what you'll be able to see is a number on the very top left in blue incrementing upwards, like the rhythm timer. And as long as I press the jump button beyond 1.3, it will bounce me up into the air.
Ooh.
So if I hit it before 1.3, it won't jump me at all, but if I hit it at 1.3, I'll bounce higher. But if I get it really close to 3, like right there, that was a basically a perfect beat. So Magenta Rhythm is definitely a more skill-based wisp. A little bit more difficult to control and use.
We've turned one of the more
Effectively.
like meh wisps into a more technical one.
Yeah. It does make Magenta Rhythm also very powerful. I am probably going to end up adjusting a lot of the variables, especially probably its energy consumption, and may consume energy a little bit faster. Boing.
We could probably also make it so that, depending on how we do it, its gravities increase. So that, like, depending on how fast the song is, you have to press it in time with the rhythm, or else you'll start falling and losing height.
Mm-hmm. It is super easy to like gain a lot of height with rhythm, but only if you hit it at the proper beats. If you don't hit it at the proper beats, then you're just gonna drop, which is part of the thing. It's supposed to be kind of a skill-based thing, so.
I'd probably look into adding a metronome, a visual and or a cool. and or a what's what call? I can't say the word right now. A visual and or auditory one.
Yeah, we already have an idea for a metronome type UI.
Finally,
thing.
my 8+ years of being in band could come in handy.
I think it's better, to be honest. Seems like making it based on stage music would be annoying depending on the stage song. It can be more consistent this way. That too. Like if you had a really fast beat song, but you still want Magenta
all you
Rhythm.
have to do is just go.
Well, there's ways around that. Like you can because depending on the time signature of the song, you could have like 1 2 3 1 2 3 or 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 or 1 2 1 2 1 2 stuff like that. So there's ways to subdivide the beat so that you can, you know.
Yeah. So yeah. I will probably increase its gravity slightly, because obviously if you get constant and consecutive perfect jumps, then you can gain a lot of height. But at the same time, if you increase it too much, then like non-perfect jumps, like still on beat jumps, but jumps that aren't perfectly on beat are still going, or like they're not going to give you enough height to overcome the gravity, meaning if you never get anything that is close to a perfect jump, then you will almost never gain any form of height, which isn't necessarily a bad idea, I don't think. But well, I will definitely have to play with it.
There's stuff we could look into, like for instance, making it so that instead of it being like a set gravity, instead it just pulls you down after a certain amount of time. Kind of like how Mario's jump is more so just is based upon that instead of just like velocity going upwards. We'll talk about it later. It's a weird wisp.
Now, obviously, in Lost World, Magenta Rhythm has little musical notes that it's supposed to home in on and like move across as you press the jump button. I didn't understand how it worked until earlier today, because I had to go back and play Lost World to get footage for the capsules, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, you had to play Lost World.
I did have to play Lost World. It was a very unfortunate situation. Oh, excuse me.
Discover the wisps.
How?
Well.
Say what?
You discover the wisps are funner to play in the PC version.
They are. The wisps are a lot more fun to play on the PC version. I did discover how Magenta Rhythm actually works. Essentially, you can spam the jump button to go in between notes, and essentially you can't really fail it. But I didn't really realize this, but the way the Magenta Rhythm works is the closer you are to getting perfect beats, the faster that Magenta Rhythm moves in between notes.
Oh.
So Magenta Rhythm constantly bounces up and down, and if you hit the jump button off beat, it will still move towards the designated note, like the next designated note, but it will like bounce rapidly and move slowly, versus if you hit the jump button more on beat, it will bounce slowly but move further and faster. So
I think I see some ways to go around that.
That I didn't really realize that until I played earlier today, because with the Wii U gamepad you can't really tell. You can just, tap wherever you want to go. But in the in the PC version, Magenta Rhythm kind of just homes in on the target, which honestly isn't all that bad of an idea. After playing it on the PC version, I actually kind of like it a little bit more after I took the time to like really understand it and get to know what it was actually trying to accomplish, because it was a very confusing wisp. Unfortunately, yeah, very unfortunate that I had to play Lost World. But we might do something similar still with the musical notes. We might set up a system where if you are within range of a musical note, you will still automatically home in on the musical notes at a set rate.
Maybe if you press a button.
Like, yeah, maybe. Or what we might do is we might completely repurpose the musical notes. What an idea that I had, where a musical note would be essentially like a little energy collectible that you can grab, and it would like add like an energy tick to the wisp, and if you press the boost button, it would do like a sound bump or like a sonic burst or whatever. It would basically create a small little explosion of sound that could probably knock back enemies and stun them, essentially give it a little bit more a little bit more on the offense side as well. Give it a little bit more use in combat rather than just platforming, because that's one thing that Burst currently has over Magenta Rhythm. Magenta Rhythm, if you can use it correctly, you can gain way more height and go much further than you can with Burst, the way that I have set it up. But with the downside of Magenta Rhythm currently can't do any damage at all. Like, Magenta Rhythm is a very helpless Wisp. You can't do any form of overlapping damage. You can't do any kinds of attacks or anything like that, versus Burst, which can do wide radius explosions that can blow back enemies and deal damage. So with this idea where we change the collectibles, or change the notes to be a collectible in which you can then use as an attack, it does give Magenta Rhythm a little bit more to work with in terms of interactivity with enemies and such, which is an idea that I do kind of like. I would like to play around with it, but if everyone hates that idea, then we can just scrap it and do something else. Honestly, I don't care one way or another. But
yeah, we're experimenting with this because its implementation in Sunrise World is very lackluster. So we're like, well, we don't want to put in a lackluster Wisp, so we're gonna.
To be honest, it was incredibly situational Wisp anyway. So
yeah. Magenta Rhythm was an insanely situational Wisp, which there are a lot of Wisps that are like that, but there are still a lot of ways that you can experiment with Wisps, like the way that we have changed Drill, for example. Drill honestly allows for a lot more experimentation. Laser and Rocket both allow for a lot of experimentation. But there's also Wisps like Eagle and Bomb or Grey Quake, or even, Asteroid, that allow for a lot of experimentation with level design as well. So
yeah.
Oh, you can show off what we do with Asteroid.
Oh yeah.
Most of those Wisps, I always see as just basically being for doing a shortcut.
Yep. We've not really changed too much with Asteroid. We've got little particles here now. I think that's most of all that we've changed.
Yeah.
Pop.
We're probably going to nerf the particles because you have such a wide range as Asteroid.
Yep. The other thing is, you probably noticed those fire sections. They are little teleport points for Asteroid. So these little fire rings are a temporary thing. They're a placeholder effect, essentially. Because if you play Lost World, then you'll know that Asteroid can take advantage of little warp points that'll warp them between different sections of the level. And essentially, that's what that is. You can make them two ways if you want it. If you want to, like, if you jump into one side, you can just jump back into the output again, and you'll just jump back and forth between them. But there's also a one-way system where you can only enter and exit through one of them. Like, you enter through one and you can only exit through one. You can't enter through the exit or exit through the enter, vice versa. So if you so desire to make them two-way, you can. If you prefer to make them one-way, you can do that as well. But other than that, the only other really visual change we made with Asteroid are the little particles, which are probably going to be changed again, but we'll have to see. But they do contract and they do expand whenever you jump.
Talking about Asteroid here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Asteroid's kind of weird, honestly.
So that's Asteroid. I think the only Wisp that we really have left to do a lot of the core functional work with is Ivory Lightning.
Yeah.
We just, like, Ivory Lightning is pretty much the only Wisp where we have to get a lot of its core functionality finished, which is essentially two things. We got to give it a homing attack, and we got to have it interact with specific Ivory Lightning objects, which we might end up changing, because we are what we're thinking of doing, and what we really want to do just to make Wisps less situational, is we want to try and, like, make them more interactable with the environment and stuff like that, to give you, to give you more tools to work with. I think we're planning on adding a master Wisp object that multiple Wisps can interact with. And I think we're also planning on adding more objects that wisps are going to be interactable with. Like, for example, I've not personally played the 3DS version of Lost World, but I have seen footage of it. I know that there's like little plug nodes that Ivory Lightning can interact with and charge up, or there's like little
fire pillars for burst.
Yeah, I was talking about the little swing poles for Ivory Lightning.
We could probably also make it so that they can interact with the normal objects, like just make so they can have basic interaction with springs and dash panels.
Yeah, so that's probably a thing that we're probably going to end up doing as well. We're planning on adding a lot more interactables, like Reese had said a minute ago, like, you know, torches that burst can light, or bombs that burst, or black bomb could ignite, for example, or just in general some more level and stage interactions that multiple wisps can utilize and use to give the wisps a little bit more purpose. Oh, one other thing we did with hover is it now spins whenever it does the lightspeed dash properly and doesn't fail.
Why is it failing?
I don't know. If I had to guess, it just doesn't recognize the next ring in the sequence. It just doesn't.
Seemed like it was working before, though. That's why it's confusing me.
I think it's frame dependent. Like if I had dropped a frame or something, then it likes to fail. As far
there was something. There was that effect added to Sonic that we plan to add to other characters.
I don't remember if we went over that already. Like,
well, he showed up on Twitter.
On stream.
Okay, so yeah, I know I showed it off on Twitter. I didn't remember. But if you follow us on Twitter, you've probably seen this. We've got a little smear effect. So if you've depending on like the frame rate of the video that you're getting, it should be. I think I try to stream at 60 FPS, but if you've played Infinity Plus or other Infinity games with a high frame rate, you'll notice that Sonic's quills kind of spasm out a little bit. That's just because the jiggle bones attached to his quills are not designed to bounce around and move at the speeds that Sonic does. And the higher the frame rate that you get, the more insane it gets. But
yeah, I noticed that it's way more pronounced on my machine.
Yeah. But part of what you're seeing isn't that. A lot of the little weird blue spikes that you're seeing is actually a smearing effect from the materials that we have on Sonic here. So if I slow down time, you'll be able to see it a lot better.
You're supposed to see it on like the legs and like areas that are not his quills.
Yeah. You can even see it on his ear a little bit. It's a little bit of... It kind of makes it look like a liquid solid almost, you know?
Like a ferrous liquid?
Yeah, like a ferrous liquid.
And the way, like... So, the reason this in the game is because I wanted to try it out because Reese actually sent me a video about this effect. And I thought, oh, that could look cool on like characters if they go fast. So I copied the video, plagiarized it, and then I simply made it so that it scales with how fast you're going. It also added a little effect where, well, yeah, the effect also happens while you're rolling too. But also made it so that the effect can be seen while you're behind the player. Like the effect kind of like moves with the camera slightly. But if Fizz were to start like boosting and going like at Mach 1, 2, and 3, the effect will actually like become more exaggerated.
Gotta go fast.
You could probably just, yeah.
So as you can see, as I move faster, it's just going to get more and more exaggerated. Sonic essentially just becomes a blur. What is with our particles? Something is going on with the particles. It looks like there's something missing. Why do we have missing particles?
Don't look at me.
I didn't do anything.
We'll have to look at that.
I mean, I assume it has something to do with the heat distortion to an extent.
No, it's your little flurries is what it is.
Weird.
Alright, regardless of that, we're missing a particle somehow. I don't know how, but we'll look into that later. But not to spend too much more time on this, but this here is a smear effect that we're planning on adding to other characters. We're probably going to refine a little bit more, make it a little less choppy. You probably notice that if you look close in certain parts, like Sonic's mesh is clipping in on itself during that. That's just because there is more than likely seams in the mesh that aren't properly connected, so the material is pulling on those seams and you're able to see the cracks in the mesh and stuff. So we're already aware of that, and we're going to try and fix it. We already tried to fix it earlier, but re-importing the mesh turned out to be a bitch, so we're still working on it.
Yep.
So that's something we're planning on adding. The primary reason we were doing it is to help give Infinity Plus its own visual flair and its own design, its own aesthetic, essentially. Is Sonic shitting? No, it's just... it's just a bug with the particle effects.
There's a missing particle. If you ever play Gmod, you know what's happening.
Yep. It's a particle that's supposed to play, but didn't.
The enemy didn't get launched as far as I thought he would, or normally would.
Alright, so let's swap over. It's an unfortunate side effect of moving that fast. Bells don't keep up. Very funny.
Hedgehogs do poop while they run.
Yes, yes they do.
Thank you for that.
That is such a funny thing to be talking about.
Don't thank me. I think ADHD videos? I forgot.
Yeah, it was.
Scientifically accurate people.
Yeah, I know.
Well, good.
Alrighty, so moving on to Knuckles.
There's nothing to talk about. He's perfect just the way he is.
Heat punch.
I updated the blocking a bit so that now he actually you don't turn around as much when you punch.
Yeah.
Like you still keep facing the same direction.
Pop. So let's see here. Knuckles' gliding now has a hitbox, obviously. Pop, pop. You just punch and just wreck into enemies.
Yeah, it's kind of like the roll in a sense, in the fact that it can combo into itself relatively well if you set it up.
Yep.
It's not perfect.
Shielded enemies also do block you now. That's a
They
neat little
did
thing.
before.
Yeah, I know they did before, but it's a lot better now because you've altered it since then.
Yeah, you can also glide into them and they'll knock you back.
However, certain moves are going to be able to break through shields or deal extra damage to shields. Power characters, such as Knuckles, are going to be the best at bypassing shields, as they are just able to break right through it.
Yeah. If you want to know the specifics of the interaction, the shield has 2 health, and Knuckles does 2 damage with his punches, but they also have a certain parameter that makes them more powerful against shield. So that actually deals damage against these shields. Normally these shields are indestructible to normal attacks, but we'll keep working on his interactions.
Yep. It's kind of fun being able to combo the enemies and bounce them around in midair and such.
One combo that's hard to pull off, but it's satisfying, is doing a 3-hit combo and then while in the air, press jump to initiate glide.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit difficult to do at high speeds because you're knocking away from you and you're already at high speed, so you can't catch up. But yeah, the trick is to since the 3rd hit knocks you to the air, you just press jump while you're in the air. You'll just immediately glide into it.
Yep.
But I kind of like it. It's like Knuckles actually has combos.
Yep.
And you can mix and match them. Like one cool thing that Fizz actually found before I did is if you roll in the middle of a punching combo, you pause the combo, but you don't interrupt it. So if you do 1, 2, roll, and then punch again, you'll do 3. The 3rd hit of your combo. You don't reset it.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to do. You have to roll and then unroll really quickly. So you can get a hit in, get a 2nd hit in, roll to get a 3rd hit in, and then unroll to get a 4th hit in, which would be the final hit of the combo. Just like that.
Yep.
So you could essentially just expand your damage more. I think it could be possible to punch, like punch, roll, punch, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like in theory, you could do that. Why is there a sneaker? Oh, that is the indication to show that you're speed shifting. Speed shifting is simply a mechanic where you change your control scheme slightly so that you can go up and down and all around. It's simply the basics of it. And before, it usually it's indicated by these arrows, but now we have the actual UI icon for it. So it may get rid of these arrows before long.
Yeah, we can turn these arrows off now technically, but these arrows are what we use to indicate the speed shift. But as long as that icon is on, that means you're in speed shift mode, which essentially changes your control type. But we can technically turn these arrows off now, so they're not such an eyesore, because we now have an icon that indicates whenever speed shift is on. Do you plan on making fights between Sonic characters like in Hero? As in, like, making the characters fight against each other? That would be, like, a multiplayer question, and the answer to that's probably no. Because we are planning on doing multiplayer stuff, but that is really extensive multiplayer stuff.
Yeah. Like, at the
multiplayer, just making it so then characters can hurt each other is going to be needed, but...
Yeah.
I could probably look into that. Like, the hard part is really just getting multiplayer started in general so that you can at least do co-op. But being able to hit each other is actually not too hard. The problem is making it balanced. What?
We can already do co-op. I coded it.
Well, I mean, like 100%. Like, it's not 100%. It's not 100% done. Is what I mean.
Yeah. Co-op kind of works. All right. To move on to the next thing involving Knuckles.
Oh my god, they've put so many fucking looks.
Ow.
You got punched. I may add a blocking box to that so that, similar to windmill kick, it like blocks projectiles when you do it.
But anyway, we now have a sort of... God damn it. We now have a sort of charge attack. Shadow KMW, thank you for the follow.
Cheers, mate. The cavalry's here.
And thank you for the host as well. Thank you very much.
Nice.
We have a sort of charged attack for power characters, and obviously Knuckles in general, but this is a system that we're going to be using for all power characters. Essentially everything we're doing currently at the moment is almost strictly going to be used for Knuckles, but it's going to be adaptable and used for all power characters, to at least the main core system of it is. Thank you also for that follow. Let me take a look real quick. The real Sonic Hedgehog, thank you for the follow and the host.
Oh, talking to S. Rio, he said he meant like player versus CPU, which actually would be harder to do than actual multiplayer player versus player, because you have to code the the CPU to actually react and play with the characters.
Yeah, that's a whole bunch of CPU AI that you'd have to set up for the players, which essentially means that you got to set the AI to be able to control the characters and tell them, like, hey, under certain circumstances you'd want to do certain things in situations like that, which can be done. It's just a lot of work and not a priority.
Yeah, there's something Reese looked into, but through him we've learned just how much of a headache it can be, because these controls, the way the players interact is mainly meant for people to control them. But going back to Knuckles' thing, how you initiate the charge punch currently is that you hold down the right trigger on controller or left click on mouse and keyboard, which is also the drift button for Sonic and other speed characters. Yeah. And currently, right now, how it works that as you charge it up, you actually kind of like, I guess you do kind of drift, but you like slow down and slide around. And I was also thinking of making it so that eventually, if you slow it down enough, Knuckles, you can straight wall in that mode as Knuckles instead of just coming to a halt. I just haven't put that in.
Yeah.
But the idea is that you can charge it up and then you press punch, and you'll do a charge punch. But the reason why, if that's the case, you may say to yourself, well, why not just make so that we hold down the button that does that? Well, we're thinking of making so that Knuckles can do multiple like charge attacks. So punch is just one of them. He does, I guess you could call it a lunge. I think there's an official name for this move because it's very similar to the one from Sonic Adventure when he does like his combo. But for now, we just call it the lunge. We may change specifically how it works, but right now it's really good at covering distance and puts out hitbox in front of you. We may give it other properties, but it's just supposed to be a really powerful punch that also moves you, kind of like a mini boost. But we're also thinking about adding different other like combination of moves that you can do with a charge attack. So maybe you press circle, Knuckles will do like maybe a ground pound or something involving digging, who knows? And we can have other types of charge attacks with the system.
We are planning on adding a timing system, or we're going to experiment with the timing system, Asirio, but we'll get to that. There's still more to talk about this year first. So, like Emmanuel was saying, the idea is while you're holding down the drift button, you're essentially going to go into a charge state. And from here, what we're planning on doing is you're going to be able to do different moves based on the different buttons that you press while in a charge state. So obviously, if I press Shift or the X button in this case on a controller, I would do a punch, which would be something like that. However, if I were to do something like charge up and then maybe press the jump button, instead of obviously jumping, maybe I would do some type of like rising uppercut, jump high up into the air with like maybe very little air movement or something like that. Or there could be a different move like Emmanuel said, if like maybe you press the Y button, you'll do like a ground slam or something like that. Like do a nice AoE ground slam, or maybe you'll pick up a rock and you can throw it or something like that.
Yeah, we want all these moves to... Sorry, continue.
Essentially, the idea is that this charge state is supposed to act similarly to a home attacks modifier, where while you're in a charge state, you can modify and change what you're going to do after that based on an input.
Yeah, and one thing I was thinking about adding is that while you're in a charge state, Fizz, you played like Smash Ultimate and Smash 4, right?
Yeah.
You know Corrin?
Not familiar, or not really well, but yeah.
Her neutral B, what she does is that she charges up like a sort of like a skewer attack, but when she does that, she has a hitbox in front of her that is constantly out and like does like chip damage, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, it's like a multi-hit. I was thinking about adding it. Oh,
what?
It looked like Knuckles broke for a second, but I may be mistaken. I was thinking of making it so that while you're charging up that move, it's sort of like an attack where wherever you're facing, Knuckles does like, oh no.
You didn't see that.
I didn't see that.
No one saw
Nothing
that.
happened. But essentially, like, he has like a hitbox in front of him constantly that just kind of like does a small bit of damage and pushes enemies away. Just so you can, still do something while charging.
I think I accidentally did. I did not mean to say that. Oh my, I am sorry.
Oh, wow.
I apologize. I was trying to say Knuckles
on
digs. Yeah, I'm about to get canceled on Twitter. I apologize.
Oh,
I was
to
trying
answer,
to say Knuckles digs is what I was trying to say. I
Oh
apologize.
yeah, Reese updated the dig slightly. By slightly, I mean he actually added some visuals to it.
I'm tempted. We need to do the sideways rip, but
Hey, you got the ball rolling.
What are you talking about?
The dig.
Oh yeah, the digging. Yeah, we got a little particle effect here for whenever you dig. Doesn't seem to be perfectly lined up, but it's close enough.
Yeah, it's just like a prototype for now of what we're going to do. What else? To answer Mr. Spacebor's question, which is, well, not question, but answer his comment. He says he likes to slide, and would you incorporate the grapple idea through this, or are you thinking of some other buttons? I think right now the consensus is that we're thinking of another button for power characters to do the grapple move or whatever they're going to have for that, because originally, like, the idea I had for Knuckles is that Knuckles would be able to do certain, like, command grabs if he did certain button combinations, I guess. But instead, we're thinking of just dedicating maybe a button or a special command prompt for power characters in general for them to be able to pick up and throw characters, possibly. I don't think we know what that button will be. Maybe the Y button. And we may make it so that you have to knock down an enemy or stagger them to pick them up.
Mm-hmm.
And you also can't pick up heavy enemies unless maybe you're a certain armadillo, but we're still that idea is still very much in the oven right now.
Yeah. We know that grappling and picking up and throwing enemies is something that we definitely want to do with power characters in general, because
From the very beginning.
Yeah, similarly to speed characters, grappling, picking up and throwing enemies and stuff just seems like something in character for a power character to do. So it's something that we want to definitely integrate into the moveset, because it's just like most power characters, save for Knuckles and like, you know, Mighty and I think like maybe one other power character, a large majority of the power characters in the Sonic franchise are generally very large characters. Omega, Big, Vector, those are all very large characters, so lifting up enemies that are essentially smaller than them just makes sense. And seems like something that they would do, you know, in most situations where they are like, you know, surrounded by enemies. Especially if you like, you know, you don't have projectiles, unlike Omega, which obviously has a never-ending assortment of projectiles, but someone like Big or Vector who doesn't have projectiles, or Knuckles, they picking up and throwing enemies.
Wait, what are you talking about? Yeah, Vector can just shoot bubblegum out of his throat.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot Vector can. I forgot Vector can breathe fire.
Oh yeah, that too. Vector could just do anything.
Vector is Vector. He can just do things. What is Vector's powers? Yes, that's what Vector can do.
Hell yes, I am Crocodile.
But I would like to lean more towards trying to, like, it would be nice if you can just try to grapple and pick up enemies at any point in time. However, one thing that we are planning on doing is having some type of prone system where enemies get knocked down onto their back and they get knocked prone and stuff. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah. We have a system that sort of does that for enemies right now, but it's not like a actual prone system. It's more so just certain attacks knocks them down, and it's just a visual thing right now.
Yeah. And the prone system is something we were planning on implementing for speed characters anyway, so it would be nice to give it more of a purpose than just for speed characters. And being able to pick up and grapple enemies would be like prone enemies would be a great way of implementing it. That way it's not too powerful, but it still gives you, you know, a reason to want to knock enemies prone. That way you are able to pick them up and use them as weapons, which could potentially, you know, even further increase your damage output, but we would have to experiment and play around with that.
Yeah, I have some ideas for how I can code up the grappling system and all of that. Also, a move called Knock Knock is Knuckles. I was thinking if we ever did a ground pound, we could make it so that he does like, you know, the DK slam, he does like bop, bop, bop. So if we ever did that, maybe it's Knock Knock, it's Knuckles.
You know, an ability where Knuckles just punches the shit out of your computer. He just comes to life and beats the shit out of you and destroys your computer. That's
Knuckles just tells Knock Knock jokes.
Yep.
Oh, my favorite attack Knuckles does. Bad knock knock jokes.
Knock knock, it's Knuckles.
Dies.
So, the other thing that you had mentioned earlier, Ezreal, was a timing thing. One thing that we had considered with this charge move, as well as probably a couple other moves, is an overheat meter, essentially. Where if you've played CTR, Crash Team Racing, there's the way that its drift functions is as you drift, you build up a drift meter, and if you release it at a certain point, you get more speed, and you're able to drift again right afterward to chain drifts together, essentially through multiple perfect drift chaining, depending on like how you fill up the drift meter or whatever. We're planning on trying something similar to that with the charged moves here, where if you execute them at the right time, then maybe the move will become more powerful and you can simply lead up to the next move, versus if you overheat, maybe you still get damage out of it, but there's a longer lag time afterward or something like that. Or
that's actually perfect. Like, you're saying that maybe if you overheat, you still get the damage benefits. Like, imagine he does a giant, powerful, punch still, but you can't cancel it as quickly, so you can't chain them together. And I can imagine that could possibly be broken. Just imagine just chaining together like 3 of those like powerful punches if we do it incorrectly. But I think it'll be sort of a cool system where if you time it correctly, you can do them more quickly because attack canceling is always powerful in fighting scenarios.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I hate this. Every time I need to sign into Twitch, it needs to send me a code for me to type in.
Oh yeah.
So, the idea that you brought up earlier is something that we were actually already considering, making it a timing thing, but we were planning on adding like an overheat meter to help visualize and help keep track of how long you can hold and charge a move and whenever you need to release it, as well as give you better visual feedback for a perfect or failed execution and things like that.
Or at least a particle effect,
Yeah.
One thing we also need to consider is like what aerial moves to give Knuckles. I know we mentioned earlier, or you guys said that he should power characters in general, and especially Knuckles, should be focused on like staying on the ground. At least compared to say flight characters and to extent like speed characters. Although when you think about it, since they can glide, or at least Knuckles can glide, it kind of makes that weird. But we should try to figure out what aerial moves to give Knuckles, because right now, if you don't know, if you just punch while you're in the air, you just do the same punch you did before, which is a bit awkward.
It's very awkward, actually.
Yeah. That's just how it is currently. We just don't have a separate attack for if you're in the air. But we're probably going to look into different moves to give in the air and stuff like that. Probably not a combo in the air, just maybe just a different attack. One idea I had, and this is definitely me just honestly stealing from Project Hero, but in Project Hero, if you attack while in the air, or if you do a 3-hit combo, he does like a sideways, sort of like corkscrew, kind of like a sideways drill dash. So I was thinking maybe that could be it.
I don't think there's much of anything else to talk about with Knuckles at the moment. With
just
the
grappling.
Yeah, with the implementation of the charge function there, we've got a couple of ideas of how we want to expand it. That's one other thing that we're definitely going to try and do. Combat with Knuckles, because Knuckles and other power characters are going to be a little bit more traditional on the combat scale, versus Sonic and Tails are going to get a lot more experimental with them to try and really make them fit. Power characters are going to be a little bit more traditional. Oh, excuse me. But even then, we still have to make a lot of changes because this is still a high-speed platforming series. So you're going to be moving fast a lot, more than likely. So that means that hitting enemies at high speed, especially if you're trying to combo them, is not necessarily the easiest thing to do. Simply because you can't always predict where it is that they're going to fly or land. And you're pretty much always want to be on the move anyway, so you're going to be constantly running and gaining speed and such. So one thing that we're planning on doing to make it a little bit easier is add a pseudo light homing system to punches and stuff, especially lighter punches, things that you can do while moving at a higher speed. It's not going to be anything too major, but if you're punching and you're within a certain short range of an enemy, and maybe you're if you're moving above a certain speed, you'll automatically home in on that enemy, so it becomes easier to hit them whenever you're running really quickly. That way you don't mess up an attack just because you're trying to get through the area really quickly, and you don't break up your flow because you feel like you have to slow down just to land a punch or whatever, So we're going to add a couple of, hopefully, quality of life additions and things like that to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, we're also probably, one thing I was thinking about, I don't think I discussed it. No, I discussed it with you. Discussed with, not discussed it. But one problem with combat right now, when it comes to Knuckles and the rest, is that unlike Sonic, who can have some attacks that allows him to deal damage in place, kind of like if you do a homing wrecker, Sonic dashes to the enemy and then starts dealing damage to him like while staying in one place. If you're going at high speed as Knuckles and you initiate combat, if you want to keep coming to the enemy, you have to keep moving in a straight line, which makes sense. Like if you play Smash Bros, that's normally how it works. But in Smash Bros, you have tools to essentially augment where the victim is going, so that you can, for instance, like let's say in Smash Bros, you're Mario, you do like punch, punch, grab, and then you could do like back throw, and then start punching them to the left, grab them again, throw them to the right, so that you don't have to keep going in a straight line. So one thing we should probably look into doing, I know this is long-winded, is give Knuckles tools to allow him to push or, I guess, throw enemies in different directions. And then also give him tools to allow him to quickly change the direction he's going, at least briefly, so that he can combo in a multi-directional sense.
Yeah, because we are working in a 3D space here. And I think constantly lunging and pulling the, player around, especially whenever they don't want it, can be a bad thing. Hopefully with the homing system, it won't be too intrusive. But on one hand, we're trying to make it easier to fight things at high speed. On the other hand, we're not trying to recreate Sonic Heroes, where, you do a punch and you fly off the map because, the punch is automatically going to throw you forward. It's going to lunge you around and jerk the player around depending on, which moves you have and like your current level and stuff like that, where you're at on the map. We want to reduce things like that. So whenever we implement this like magnetic homing system, we want to make sure it's very light, it's very minimal, it's not too intrusive, like, oh, like I attacked an enemy and it pulled me 10 feet and I unintentionally pulled myself off the map, like, because I comboed the enemy, he got launched off the map, and I wanted to attack another enemy, except I got homed in on the old enemy or whatever. So it's a lot of things that we're definitely going to have to do to help make it non-intrusive. But things like that, what Emmanuel's suggesting, is also very helpful, where just giving you the moves to help you better control your environment in general will also help a lot as well.
Yeah, like one idea I had is maybe if you were to grab an enemy and you were to jump in the air and then like throw them downwards, that will stop all of your momentum, but maybe you could do an attack that allows you to gain it all back. Stuff like that allows you to essentially like store your momentum and then push it all into either an attack or into another direction. So you still have the same flow, but it doesn't all have to be you constantly going fast.
Ow. Here's a dumb idea. What about using a combine ring from Chaotic Inspired Tether to get Knuckles to his enemies for the indicator? Maybe we were considering using a tether system for flight characters.
We were?
Yeah. Do you not remember that? I talked to you and Reese about it, like considering the idea of using a tether system for flight characters. Say what?
For
like,
the enemies, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are you talking about like homing in on enemies or like actually using a tether?
Actually using a tether, but it was just an idea that we kind of threw out, or I kind of threw out. I don't know if we were ever actually going to go anywhere with it, because I know that we threw around the idea of, flight characters tethering enemies. We threw around the idea of flight characters being projectiles. We threw around the idea of flight characters trying to avoid fights as much as possible, regardless, Some of the stuff I think we could definitely still use. I do like the idea of, like, maybe tethering a prone enemy or something like that and carrying him around, but we'll get to that when we get to that. We've still got Knuckles to go.
All just like, oh, we just need to make it so you just hack the enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was my idea. Make them switch sides or directly control them, or both.
Yeah, which is an idea we can still play around with, but
not use.
Yeah, we'll see.
Why do you hate my ideas so much? Oh,
I hate mine all the time too.
Yeah, that's true. But we're still, it's very much like, I think we said this before, but compared to Sonic, the other characters have not been given nearly as much love. So Sonic has had years to get his moveset at least expanded in 3D. You have the homing attack, the boost,
You got the slide, you got the bounce, you got the quick step.
Yeah, you got the bounce, you got the
Drift.
quick step, you got the stomp. Like, because Sonic, like, after Sonic 06, essentially, none other characters have ever had their moveset expanded. You could count Sonic Boom, but Sonic Boom didn't happen. So we're going forward. Like,
You could count Sonic Boom, but there was no Sonic Boom, so
yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Are you talking about like Sonic CD? Get out of here.
Yeah.
But like Knuckles doesn't have an equivalent to the boost, for instance, like, or a boost gameplay thing. Like, he had the adventure formula, but nothing to that extent of a rework for him. Same with Tails. So we have to come up with all of that.
Essentially, a lot of this is, just us trying to come up with bullshit to see what does and doesn't work. Essentially,
Yes, it is in fact all bullshit.
Whether we like to put it on or not, it is at the end of the day bullshit.
Yes, when you're playing Sonic Infinity Plus, you're just playing bullshit.
It's like, all right, what kind of shit can we get away with this time? All right, it's time to work on this. What kind of bullshit can we get away with?
How about we add Big the Cat?
Oh no,
That's the ultimate bullshit.
Everyone will love that. We'll
One
make
thing
an OP character with a super form, a hyper form, an ultra form, a flaming form. Just all the forms.
an Excalibur form, a
Excalibur form.
Dark Spine form.
a Werehog form.
Yeah, Werehog.
Oh god, yes.
He gets his own color powers.
Yeah.
All specific color powers, just big. Literally, just make big.
Big will be the ultimate Sonic character.
One thing I was thinking about is that, I mean, this is a problem right now for Tails because he doesn't have his moveset expanded, but he has no way to actually deal with shields currently.
Yeah. Excalibur Big is the stuff dreams are made of. It is. That is peak Sonic perfection is Excalibur Big.
You just put him in the same suit, like the suit is bursting at the seams. It's like he can't really fit in it, but he just quite gets in there.
Something's chafing.
Something's biting.
Something's biting.
So the mind.
Oh God!
Are you done dying? Can you not
I am.
die on stream?
God.
I am
Dead. So, one thing that you can't really tell in terms of visuals because nothing visually has changed. But things have changed under the hood, both with Knuckles and Tails, actually. Every time you saw me gliding with Knuckles, that was not actually code written inside of Knuckles' blueprint. That was inside of the new parent, the new power parent blueprint that Knuckles is parented under. Same thing goes for Tails and his flight code. All of this flight code here, him flying around, that is all located inside of the flight parent. So that's another thing that we have been doing. I do know that we mentioned it last time that we had gotten Tails' code moved over to flight parent. That's something we did mention last time. But it was unfinished. I kind of just said that the day after I sloppily threw it together. But we actually took some more time a couple days ago and got it functioning as intended, so Tails no longer has infinite flight. If you remember last time, during the last dev stream, there was a bug where Tails would essentially just get infinite flight. That no longer happens. The stamina bar also properly sizes and puts itself in the proper location. That was another problem that we had last time. Still a little strange, but it is technically functional, as it was last time.
all fixed.
The only code inside of Tails that he has in his individual blueprint are these little tail swipes, and the only code that Knuckles has inside of his blueprint are all of the combat moves, all the punches and stuff, as well as his drill dive and his wall climb. That's all specific to Knuckles. However, the gliding code, the code that handles gliding through the air and all the physics and interactables and stuff like that involved in that, all of that's located in the power parent. So any power child will be able to by default glide. So if you got Big the Cat as a power child, he'll be able to glide with his umbrella, or Knuckles or Omega be able to glide. That's
Yeah,
all.
you can change the parameters of it
Big
too.
can just glide.
Well,
just
yeah,
like-
he can glide. He's got his umbrella.
No, yeah, even without the umbrella, he just glides like Knuckles. Glide.
Big will just glide like Knuckles.
When I think about it, I know we're not making other characters, but a lot of the para characters in theory could climb. I think Vector could Vector climb? No, okay, Vector couldn't climb, but
Vector couldn't.
The only
Could it?
other power character that could really climb is Omega, and that's just because he can dig his claws into anything.
yeah. And if you root, some people count as a power character, some don't. But she can climb, but whatever.
Count her as a power character because of Adventure 2.
And 06.
She-
And 06.
And 06, I guess.
It's like in 2 games she was a Knuckles clone, in 1 game she was a Tails clone. So it's like, what is she? And Rouge is there, like, I don't know. I'm just a bat.
If Mighty is a power speed hybrid, I would consider Rouge probably a power flight hybrid.
Yeah,
She's more
I can see
flight
that.
than power, but she has some attributes that make her power like wall climbing, and you could potentially swap her flying out with the gliding move, you know. So
Yeah. I'm sure, like, if we ever were to, like, we're not saying we're going to, but if we ever were to touch on her, we will do something like that. That's probably going to be up to you
Don't
guys.
say that.
Can you rephrase that?
Rephrase that.
We're never going to ever work on Rouge, but you guys are happy to do whatever you want using the systems we're creating.
Yeah.
There. Can I not get sued now?
Yes.
Yeah.
You not get canceled on Twitter.com.
Well, like, we don't need 2 cancels
Yeah.
to stream.
One thing I do like about Tales of
Otherwise,
Tales
we'll
right
be
now
flying
is that
half a team.
Well,
That's
we're
true.
already flying half a team.
I do like Tales of Tales right now because it doesn't combo and stuff really well, but it's still like a proper attack.
I mean, you can
It's more like a
combo
get off me.
itself.
It's like the
Not
one
really.
request though people had for Tails when we did the Sonic 3. Well, we did the and Knuckles update. People wanted Tails and Knuckles to actually be able to attack, which now
Yeah.
they can.
But yeah, I like Tales of Tales because it does a combo as well as like other attacks, but it's still useful in its own way, and we can still add more to it.
Silver has also been reparented to the flight parent. His flight code, however, is obviously completely unique to him. Silver is a great example of, even though you can create a child of a parent class, you can still technically do whatever you want inside of the individual child. The parent class does not necessarily define them, but creating a child of a parent class would instantly give that child additional perks and default abilities that you can, utilize. So if
Like
they're
the passive, and there's also passives, like the passive of power types is to just break walls instantly.
yeah, that's a passive for power types. Any power type can like break through breakable walls instantaneously without any speed requirements. And there are certain walls that can only be broken by power type characters, so that's instantly, a default that you can, give that character even if they don't have anything else like related to it. But Silver currently doesn't have any code inside of the flight parent that he actually uses, but he himself does have, like, if we did add more flight code, like say for example if we wanted to give like the all flight characters the ability to like hack into computers or whatever, then that is now code that Silver can utilize.
Yeah, or just dominate enemies or whatever you want for them.
Real quick, these little boxes here that I occasionally like pushed around and messed around with, these are a new object that we're planning on playing around with and messing around with called master objects. Essentially, they will be used to cut down on a lot of needless child blueprints. So obviously, you all know that Silver can, pick up certain objects that have certain tags or certain, not really tags, but a certain interface implemented into them. Rather than having to create a whole new blueprint and, adding all of that code, you could simply just, create a child of this psychic blueprint or this silver psychic kinesis blueprint or whatever, and you can just simply just change the mesh. Or maybe you could set it up to where the mesh and the collision changes dynamically depending on what you set it as. maybe you don't even want to, like, create a new child blueprint of it. You could just set up a system where you can use the same blueprint that just simply cycles through it all. But essentially,
Rick, you're right.
what?
What S. Rick said about the cubes, he's absolutely right.
They look like styrofoam cubes at a trampoline place. They are styrofoam cubes.
Yeah.
Like so. And of course, because
Good old
they
styrofoam
are
cubes.
silver objects, they can be affected by these psychopads. They don't have
One
the
thing
materials, obviously, so they're not going to glow, but we're going to be reworking the material system anyway.
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe making it so that like objects that can be affected by a psychopath, like maybe faintly glow or just periodically blink, just to let you know.
Yeah, maybe. We'll have to play around with that.
Well, all you
Yeah,
normally
definitely.
do is just hold the button and you'll know what gets picked up.
Yep. But this cube here is actually an actual master cube. The Psycho Cubes are a child of the Master Cube, and the Master Cube is going to have some more interactable code that all the children will be able to utilize. We don't know what it will definitively do just yet, but we have ideas on what we want to do with it that'll help hopefully lighten the load on a lot of other interactables inside of the game that you don't necessarily need individual stuff for.
To answer Spaceport's question, yes. Like for instance, because of, I mean, we have to go over it a bit, but because of how Tails' flight code worked, you could in many ways just copy and paste it and it will mostly work, or at least you have most of the legwork done.
Mhm.
You make the plugin a few nodes so that things get reset when you land and stuff like that. But like if you want to copy Rouge over, like you would probably make her. Let's say, for instance, the power parent has like gliding and also wall climbing and stuff. You would just make Rouge that a power parent, parented off the power parent, a childhood power parent. I'm messing this up, and then you would add in Tails' flight code. You'll just copy and paste it. It's not 100% seamless, but it saves you a lot of the work.
Yeah. So, I actually need to read the comment now because I didn't read it. So it's pretty custom, but say someone wanted to make Rouge. Yeah, basically what Emmanuel said. No idea, but what if Silver could use blue cubes from the Cube Wisp? That is something we have considered. Well, not specifically Silver, but we have considered having the Wisp objects be interactable even without Wisps. I don't necessarily think that's something we're going to do, though, because currently, other than like individual and special control schemes, these special Wisp objects are essentially all the Wisps have. So other than like their each individual abilities, like Laser's ability to bounce off walls, Rocket can shoot up in the air, and Burst can explode, essentially. Other than those individual abilities, outside of that, the Wisps don't really have too much functionality. All they really have is how they interact with a lot of the Wisp objects. So if we gave a lot of the Wisp objects interactability to the Sonic characters without the need of Wisps, then you're essentially chopping off a huge chunk of what makes Wisps useful in a lot of situations. So I don't think we're going to go forward with that, but that is something that we have considered. I think I brought that up to Emmanuel the other day, or Emmanuel brought it up to me and we discussed it.
Yeah, actually, I can see what. Okay, so I can see how you could maybe get around that with Silver, where if you were to, we're planning on making it so that when you do the Slam with Bland blue cube, he like freezes enemies and blue cube stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the plan. What if when you do that, like if you're Silver, for instance, you can just pick them up for free at that point?
Maybe.
Well, they're in a stun mode.
Yeah.
Essentially, so it would kind of accomplish that. I could see a case where maybe you can make so if your blue cube you can spawn them every time you slam down, but that would only be a thing for Silver unless other characters could knock them around.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about it and play around with it.
Yeah.
The other thing that Silver can do now, I posted this on Twitter a little while ago, but as per usual, whenever Silver flies around, his psychokinesis meter will drop. Yep, that particle is broken as well.
Yeah.
But what can happen here is if you're super, Silver will not actually lose any energy whenever he hovers. Instead, he will drain rings faster. I'm also probably going to increase his top speed a little bit. But this essentially means that as Super Silver, you could potentially fly indefinitely as long as you have rings. Which, now that I think about it, would actually make for a fun mini-game. Like, you would just fly around as Silver trying to collect rings.
Yeah, you do drain rings really quickly, though. Like, you had one to over 100, and now you're already out.
Yeah, which I did on purpose, or else it would be insanely broken. I did a lot of, like, number testing with that. So that's just a neat little functionality with Silver. Similar to how, you know, if you're Supersonic or Shadow, Metal Sonic, or Blaze, you don't drain any boost while boosting. Silver doesn't drain any psychokinesis while in a super form. And that's something we're probably not going to do for Tails, because unlike Tails' flight, you can't really gain any vertical height with Silver's psychokinesis. So, you know, being able to hover at one set, you know, XY scale, or not XY, one set Z scale.
At set height.
Yeah, at a set height, being able to just hover there isn't that big of an ordeal. But, you know.
We could probably just make so that when Tails flies, when he's super, he just has, like, more force behind it. Like, he flies up faster. He applies more force when you press the button and stuff like that, and increases top speed. Like, you just buff it kind of like how we buff Knuckles' wall climbing when he's super.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll probably end up buffing his top speed regardless.
Yeah. But you know what I'm on about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
I still like this.
Do you know who I am?
Do you
I like how
know
these
who
come
I
from
am?
nowhere.
Well, that's what happens in yeah, they just pop into existence. That's what happens in Generations.
That's what happens in real life.
Yeah, balloons just pop out of nowhere, don't you know?
Yeah.
That's how balloons work. So, yeah, I can see that Silver's psychokinesis material still needs worked on, but we're planning on reworking that entirely anyway, so...
Yeah, I really want to work on a power core for him that's like a cool kind of like green flame aura for him.
It seems like his aura is completely gone now, which is weird because it was working before, but now it's just completely gone.
Broken.
Seems like something
maybe
is broken.
something to do with the parent change. I don't know.
That doesn't make sense. That's being handled directly in Silver's child blueprint.
I know.
Maybe it's because you like did the material stuff and you like changed the
Oh,
folders.
did you transform into Super?
I did.
Oh, that's why.
Right. I remember
There's
now.
still a problem when you transform into Super. It just doesn't allow you to do it anymore.
Yeah. That'll be a problem I'll have to fix.
We have a lot of problems.
A lot of material issues.
Like you.
I think we're still shooting for like early 2021, late 2020 sort of.
Yeah, we might
Release
have
for
to.
this.
We have considered pushing it back again. One thing I know that we'll probably end up having to do, me and Reese were talking about this a minute ago, is we're probably going to have to cut Whisper out of this update. We're going to have to do one of two things. We're either going to, one, cut Whisper out of the update, or two, stop what we're doing with Silver and cut him, or any additional things we're going to do with him out of the update, and divert our resources into Whisper. Which
Or make massive gains.
Which, if we did that now, like if we stopped working on Silver and diverted our time and resources to working on Whisper, we could still get her in a really good playable state before our supposed projected next update release. But that just depends on if we really want to do that. But if we did do that, the downside to that is, one, Whisper will most likely not be exactly where we want to have her, and two, Silver would not have everything that we want him to have, which we would then obviously add in the next update, but it would just take longer. They wouldn't be what our ideal finished product for them would be, you know?
Yeah, and keep in mind, like, I know like we have other characters to deal with. Like I think we're gonna do specific things for Shadow, Blaze, and like say Sonic after this update because like right now they're just going to have the same moves as Sonic. But Sonic isn't 100% done, so we're still working on him. Knuckles has a lot of stuff that needs to be done. Tails has a load of work that needs to be done. And then you have Silver and Whisper. So we essentially we have like 3.5 characters to work on, or 3.5 templates for characters to work on. So
Yeah. So essentially, Adam, comment on what you were saying earlier, Ezreal. Whenever I say cut Whisper, I don't mean we're gonna not do Whisper at all. I just meant from this update. We're still adding Whisper. She is going to be a character that is inevitable. That's not going to change. It's just whether or not she's going to be on this update or the next update is what would change.
Okay, Thanos.
She is inevitable. But
thank you, Spaceborg. I like oftentimes, like especially like during some weeks, we feel like we don't have a lot to show off. But I guess after a year or so doing this, like we made a massive amount of progress from the Sonic 3 and Knuckles update, and most people working on fan games don't make this much progress. I think, like in such a short amount of time. I mean, I know we show it off all the time, so if you've been following us like every single dev stream, it's not that much between dev streams, but I guess it's a good amount between 3 people.
Yep. We have made a lot of progress. Like just looking at the 3 and Knuckles update, like we were like, okay, what we want to do with this next update is going to do Wisps, we want to do combat, and we want to do Whisper / Silver. And I think that as far as we have gotten since the 3 and Knuckles update, which was going on 2 months ago now, I think we've done a hell of a lot of work. I do feel bad, like honestly, we didn't really have a whole lot to show this week. I had a very, very slow 2 weeks. Part of it was one, I had absolutely no inspiration to work on anything at all in the past 2 weeks. Only the last couple of days have I actually worked on anything. 2, I messed up my sleep schedule. So I've been up all night. I have been up all night for the past 2 weeks, sleeping all day, which kills my motivation. I don't know why it does, but it kills my motivation to work on anything. But I finally fixed it, so hopefully my motivation will come back. But like I feel really bad about it, but at the same time, I'm like, now that you mention it, man, yeah, we have gotten like a shit ton done since the last update. I mean, just look at how much stuff that we've added and done.
Even like if you're taking account the stage update, we've gotten a fair amount of stuff done. Like we've added moves for Knuckles, Tails works properly. We updated a lot of stuff from the past update.
Yeah,
and we repainted a lot of things. Like a lot of stuff is under the hood is also why it may not look like a lot, but it compounds. Like let's say by January of next year, if anything, we're going to feel the effects of all the work we've done this year.
Yeah.
And also we're laying a foundation of other people to do fan games because we're hoping that we're laying a foundation for other people to pick up this framework and then get to town and start working on things. Like this isn't like once we're quote unquote finished, we're hoping that's not the end for this engine. That's just the end of us working on the core of it.
Yeah, that once we're quote unquote done, we're hoping what will happen is just, whenever we say we're done, we mean that we are done. Like maybe the engine won't be done, maybe someone else will pick it up after we're done.
Or at least people will make games out of it.
Yeah, even if someone else doesn't pick up the engine, maybe they just use it, in which case, regardless of which scenario happens, we will gladly stick around and help people learn the ins and outs of it. That way they can use it to the best of their ability and make whatever they want with it.
Stuff like that. I know Reese had an idea for a fan game. I imagine he's going to use this engine. I'm definitely going to use this engine for a fan game I had an idea for.
Mm-hmm. Israel asks, what would you guys do if all your work was just gone and you had to start over again? I'm not going to lie. I would not start over. I would use what I have learned now and use my time to work on another project. That's what I would do.
Same here.
I love Infinity Plus, and I will continue working on Infinity Plus until we feel that it is in a finished state. But if something were to happen and we were to lose all of it, I would just be like,
Well,
all right, I'm gonna go and move on and do something else because I don't want to put that same amount of time into this. It like as much as I would absolutely love to see, you know,
There are some things I do not want to code again. I don't want to code the hitbox system again,
yeah.
honestly.
And honestly, I don't think that we would be able to like necessarily effectively recreate everything one to one. There would be a lot of differences, a lot of changes. For one, there would be a lot like there would be no OBAN code. That means any issues that OBAN had initially put in that we haven't found or known about would no longer exist.
Yeah.
That
We
would
were thinking
technically be a
about-
plus.
We were thinking of remaking the master character, but at the end of the day, we decided it really wasn't worth it.
Yeah, it really was not worth it. That was gonna be worth way more work than it was worth. It was just
Yeah.
no, thank you.
As much, honestly, as much shit as we give Oban, he did give us actually a relatively solid foundation to work off of. He did a good amount of work for us in terms of getting Sonic to at least mostly work, and then from there there were some issues, but he, without him we wouldn't have the project. So credit where credit's due.
You also made another comment I haven't read it yet. Yeah, you should wait for her to be in the next updates. You have more time. You should focus on. You said silver right. I'm going to assume you meant silver right now.
Silver rights.
Get as close as possible. We should work on civil rights, equal rights between all hedgehogs and echidnas and cats and all species.
Yeah.
But yeah, we might end up holding off on Whisper. We're still going to work on her. I still want to get her as far along as we possibly can, even if she doesn't go into this next update, because I want her to be like, I wanted her in this project like
a year
last year, like that. I wanted her in the project like last year, and we never got around to it. We just kept having other things come up, other things that we needed to work on, and on and on and on. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And if I have to hold back on her one more time, I suppose I will. But it's getting to the point where I'm like, all right, we're gonna have to stop doing other things and actually add her, because she's a character I have wanted to have in the project since basically the very beginning.
And it's all my fault. I am sorry, guys.
Don't worry, we'll replace you with a new master. Don't worry.
No.
Oh, also,
Though I'm British.
I mean, that's a plus in my books.
Oh. Alright, can we cancel Emmanuel on Twitter.com now?
I don't have a Twitter.com.
I have 70 alternative accounts.
Should we mention that our new hire or our new
70 alt.
person working with us?
Yeah, we did get someone. We did get someone new working on models and materials and textures and such. They don't do animation, but we did get someone new who, is beginning to do some modeling work for us. We still need someone to do animation work. Love the real-time fan dub. I miss my wife tails. But, yeah, we did get someone new. He's actually the one that stitched up the Sonic model, the one that we have been unable to put into the project because for some reason re-importing it has been a bitch. We don't know why.
We'll figure it out.
Well, we do know why, but we don't know how to fix it.
Yeah. And this wasn't a situation where it's like, well, he's not animated, but it's like the best we could do. It's like, no, we actually said before, like we'll eventually need people like modelers because we do want to do some things that require modeling work. And while we can do it, kind of like how we can animate, we would prefer to have someone who's more dedicated to that trade so that we can, for one, have someone who's way more skilled than us working on it, and two, so we could dedicate our time to things that we like are more skilled at, because I am way more of a programmer by trade than an animator or modeler. I think the same is mostly true for Reese and also the same for Fizz. we are versatile, but that comes at a cost.
I can learn how to do it. I can learn how to do it quickly, but I still won't be as good as someone who has had, a lot of time and practice doing it.
Yeah.
Hey, what was that? Radio rant material game star content was missing. I don't know what that
I
means.
think it's been there for a while.
But
Oh, I think I know what it is. For some reason, the material, because when I got GitHub, I had to like reclone the project. It added some materials that were in a starter pack that apparently were missing, and I think the radio lamp material is one of them because I used that for like the mock mode stuff.
and there he
So
goes.
that could be it.
Bye, Charles.
Oh, he went into the drink.
Yep. Charles is now drowning.
No.
No. So we did get someone new, and I've seen they shared a lot of their work with us, obviously, which is a requirement to be able to get on the team. You have to have like past experience and be able to show it. And they have a lot of really cool work and a lot of cool stuff that they've done in the past. So I'm excited to work with them and hopefully get a lot of more higher quality assets in here to work and do stuff with. So can't wait to see what comes out of that.
Yeah, I guess we should outline like what we're going to be working on like from here forward. Now we'll be in the next dev stream, but what our game plan is, because it's always nice to do that.
Yeah.
I guess we go by character. For Sonic, we still have to slightly rework the homing wrecker, and we have some ideas for a slightly, I guess you could say, a new move that involves perching and stuff like that. So that still needs to be done. Other than that, just minor tweaks here and there. But Sonic's mostly done in terms of his moveset and combat. What else? Knuckles, as you know, we're going to touch up the normal punches you can do so they can auto home, stuff like that. We're going to try to expand upon the charge attack system and add in new moves that work well with that. Also some aerial attacks you can do. Work on a drill dive and maybe even rework parts of that. Who knows? We're not going to work on tails for a bit, so we're not going to mention them.
Bug testing with Silver.
That's going to be done. And for the Wisp, I know Fizz really wants to work on Ivory Lightning next. There's some stuff we have to do for Magenta, also that needs to be done. And Asteroid needs some love and attention, but I think you can expect updates to Ivory Lightning and Magenta Rhythm by the next dev stream.
Yeah, Ivory Lightning and Magenta Rhythm are going to be the big ones. They will definitely have some updates to be shared. Hopefully Ivory Lightning more so than Magenta Rhythm, because that's essentially like the last Wisp.
Yeah.
In terms of functionality, we still have to get, obviously, a mesh and model in for Ivory Lightning and Grey Quake, which hopefully won't be too big of a deal. But,
yeah, and in terms of, like, I guess we could also cover the enemies. We're probably going to just change how the AI works, because the way their AI works right now is based upon some nodes that are very rigid, and we really want to expand how the AI works. So we're probably going to do some under the hood stuff that probably won't be ready to show off by the next dev stream, but we're probably going to start looking at that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Because we really want to like have the AI actually like be more robust, and also allow room for different types of AI, like flying AI and stuff, and cool things.
Yep.
And of course, visual updates all around. We don't have like game plans when it comes to visual updates. We more so just kind of do them as we see fit. But usually we have like a few things to show off every 2 weeks that are just visual updates. But yes, stay tuned for that stuff.
Yeah, I think that's basically about it. We don't have a whole lot of we're planning on doing with Silver, just because Silver will more so just be bug testing and all that other kind of goodiness. Yeah, I don't think there's really much of anything else that we're going to be going over in between updates, unless you have anything, Reese. Oh, there's also the Wisp capsules. Those are going to be Like the rest of the Wisp capsules are going to probably be. Hopefully, some of them are going to be animated at the very least.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we could probably work on the interpolation of the Wisp so that they actually fly out and then like zoom towards you. Like, well, they do that now, but they don't like arc and stuff like they do in the other games where you can actually kind of see them like fly around a bit before they come to you.
Yeah, they like arc and fly towards you.
Yeah, that's something we could work on later.
Why does Yaku look dead inside? It's because he is. He's seen some shit.
He's been in every single game with the Wisp. I would be dead inside too.
Oh, that's not actually
Yeah.
Yaku.
Oh no, yeah. Yaku's not in all of them.
Yep.
Yaku's
Yeah.
only in.
Yaku's the only white Wisp we care about. The rest are just dead to us.
Racist.
It's kind of funny. The Wisp that's in the icon is Yaku, but the Wisp that is in the capsule is not.
Yeah, we may honestly update the Wisp like icon so that it like pops up when you actually have a Wisp. That way, like you'd have less screen clutter.
Yeah, that'll probably be a thing that will.
Fizz asked me to do that a long time before. I need to get around to animating that.
It honestly won't be that big of a problem. Like should be super easy to do. Just like anything else that pops in and out whenever you have something.
Reese, like a week from now, is like in the corner crying with like a ball of rum. He's like, I couldn't do it. It was too hard. I failed.
You're gonna break out the hard tea.
the
Okay.
hard tea.
Get that PG tips out.
I mean, it's understandable. Like British people have hard tea. In America, we have hard
Lemonade.
AK-47s.
I love
gonna
the
go with-
Yeah, that.
wildly different things there.
I was gonna go for lemonade because we do have hard lemonade, but
Hard lemonade, and the manual's just like
AK-47s. I'm like, yeah.
The manual is definitely showing the stereotype of America.
Doing America proud. I mean, I know.
Let America proud. Yeah.
Doing America proud by just proving a point.
Yeah. So if anyone has any questions or concerns or comments, now would be the time to do it. We're hitting the 1 hour and 40-minute mark.
We always love new ideas and stuff. So you know.
Talk about how we should totally add Big the Cat, you know. Just saying, you know, it could be a thing.
Who knows? Who knows?
Maybe someone
Might
can
be
ask about.
Oh.
Maybe someone can ask to add. For us to add hat to Knuckles again, even though he already has one.
America.
No, just give him a hat on his hat.
Make Maria playable.
Maria.
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 All she does
We have-
is
we have
die.
her.
Like, you play as Maria and
What?
all you can do is die.
Die.
And then
You just die, and then you just have shadows spawn by, and you're like, Maria.
Maria.
No.
If you play in multiplayer and you play as Maria, you just, like, all you can do is die, and then the player 2 becomes Shadow, and they have an existential crisis.
They get a gun.
They get a gun.
They gotta go.
If you play as Maria,
hell,
the other player
Shadow.
gets a gun. Maria.
Maria. That gun soldier's carrying a gun.
Who that gun soldier is carrying a gun? I wouldn't be caught dead with one of those.
Years later, Sonic carries around a fucking sword and slices people in half.
Because he lives by the sword.
So does that make Shadow American because he holds a gun, and Sonic is British because he holds a knife?
Yeah.
Yes. Perfect.
Sonic just runs around, stabs people with a knife. Shadow.
We need
That's
Gerald
good.
too.
Boy, that's not kosher.
Whoa. Oi! That's
Boy
Jewish.
You what, Eggman?
Oi,
You
Eggman!
are voluntarily olio.
Oi, Eggman, you fucking wanker.
You fucking wank stain.
You fucking wankstain.
Shut the fuck up, Tails.
Get around like me on there or something. Oh, I broke out the British. You couldn't understand me.
No. It was two.
Pip
British.
pip, mind your gap. Pip pip, cheerio,
pip.
ATs.
Mind the speed shoes.
Hey, toes. The way he says toes.
Tails.
Toes. It's not tails, it's toes.
Tails.
Hey, cheerio. Alright. Any other questions or concerns besides British Sonic?
We need British Sonic to be canon now.
British Sonic to be canon.
Pip, pip, mind you got.
Oh, you mind your gap.
I love it how it's just mind the gap is the only thing you can think of. And
It-
pip
it's-
pip.
It's what
Isn't,
S3O said.
Doesn't mind your gap mean like shut your mouth or watch what you say? Is that what this was
No,
supposed to
that's
mean?
gob.
Oh, mind your gob.
Yeah. Gob. Gap is in Metro and stuff like that. It's the underground.
Ah.
London Underground, stuff like that. It's just the subway. It's like mind the gap
I
of
see.
the subway car and the platform.
So like
I
a
see.
hole, a gap.
Just mind the gap. Gotta
Alright.
teach people British culture here.
Yeah, teach British slang.
Do you know 5% of British people actually enjoy tea? We're just brainwashed to like it. I've said too much.
Oh no,
Understandable.
Told me.
the Queen's gonna come after you.
The Queen's Guard's already on the way.
Oh, chat will kick you right in the arse. I don't know why. A British Sonic is kind of funny to me.
British Sonic is ultimate.
I'm just thinking like Sonic characters are just like, different
Accents.
or like different accents and like different
Nationalities.
nationalities and stereotypes, like a Canadian Knuckles. Get off my island, eh? Sorry.
He was originally going to be Jamaican.
Yeah, I know.
I can see that for obvious reasons.
That's why he's got dreadlocks and stuff.
Yeah.
And his shoes literally are the colours of the Jamaican flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want a Sonic character to be Canadian now. That way they can say sorry.
I thought that's what Bark the Dog
I would like
was.
some Sonic characters like that are different nationality because they all are just American.
Yeah, they're all stereotypically American.
Well, not really. Like, if you go to the Archie comics, like,
What?
Yeah,
There's
but that's
Antoine.
not common.
Antoine was French, so he was a
Antoine
coward.
Decollette.
And Bunny
Antoine's
Rabbit
French,
was Southern.
He's just another different type of American.
It really isn't.
Oh, Ezra wants an Australian big, eh? Snoopy's a good job, mate. you just see big.
Christian's a good job, mate.
Fishing's a good job, mate.
Eggman kind of had like a
Walk outdoors.
he had
Nice
sort of
house.
like a European sort of like almost like French, I guess, sort of like accent before he was switched to Mike Pollitt.
Not really.
What? No. I didn't.
The
But that's what I've always
Eggman,
seen.
the Eggman before Mike Pollock did not sound European at all. You
Claim
claimed
big in a name.
you claimed
The European.
Oh,
is-
this colonizer over here, this Giga Chad just took big. We have to allow him.
Oh darn. I
Big has
like
been
big
claimed.
though.
He can
Mexican
visit once we get rid of the wall. You do a boo boo. Brazilian Infinite.
You
Going to
do.
Brazil.
Brazilian Infinite. Infinite's
going to
going to
Brazil.
Brazil.
Do 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 do.
I was talking to Reese the other day. I have no idea where the hell that meme came from.
You're going to Brazil?
Yeah, I have no fucking clue where.
I have no idea either.
I don't know why it's funny. It's funny. I don't know why, but it's funny. I don't know where it came from. You are going to Brazil.
It's just the absurd randomness of it, I guess.
Yeah.
You are going to Brazil.
Nope. Guys.
No.
Well, I guess that's it.
I've always wanted more Sonic characters with accents, though. That's why we got plans for some of them.
Russian Vector.
Russian Vector.
I don't know why, just Russian Vector.
In the future, Shimura will be randomly generated. Us sweating in 2020.
Russian Victor.
Japanese SBO.
Well, yeah, that one's a given.
Well, they have that in Sonic Smackdown.
Yeah.
It's a little late to the party, aren't you?
Well, if nobody else has any other questions or comments, I guess we could just fuck around for another 10 minutes or whatever, making it even.
Well, I gotta go actually. So
wow, I can't believe Emmanuel's the son of a bitch.
Emmanuel, what the fuck?
All right, Ezreal says he's got a real question.
A real question.
all years.
Yes, Elvis was a real person. He was not made up. He was not fake.
He definitely wasn't a bot I created to just make me look good.
To make you look good.
Elvis was make me look bad. Come on.
Elvis was a bot that you created.
Is it air dodge for Sonic or just speed characters in general?
Speed characters.
I think it's gonna be for speed characters in general.
Yeah.
We still have to flesh out that. Honestly,
oh my god! All of the particles are dead. Did Unreal just crash?
Emmanuel, what have you done?
I think Unreal just crashed on me.
No, I'll be fine.
I was gonna say just Emmanuel.
Oh nope! It's back.
I don't know why that. Okay, I have to actually look at this.
Oh, is it when you do the dodge?
Yeah.
Because my screen's gone off again, I've just realised. Yeah, that happens to me all the time. Whenever I click the dodge button, I've got to wait like a solid minute for it to
It seems like
it's like,
I don't know why that happens. It seems to only happen if you've done it like once, or if you haven't done it before.
It's every time you do it for the first time.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. I should probably honestly just rework the particles for that, or get rid of it for now.
We're gonna have to look at a lot of particles. Something's going on with our particles, and I don't like it.
I blame Emmanuel.
But to answer your question, the air dodge is meant to be for all speed characters.
Yeah, and we're still going to be workshopping it. Right now, I imagine it doesn't feel very good. And it doesn't have very many uses because, enemies are kind of shite.
Oh, excuse me. So, what's the difference between particles and mesh? Well, you can use a mesh for particles. You can't really use a particle for a mesh.
Think of a mesh as like just a 3D volume of any sort that takes up space and you can look at, while a particle is like a system that spits out like effects, and one of those effects can be like a mesh.
Mm-hmm. You can use a mesh for particles. In fact, whenever Knuckles does his dig, the little dirt ground mound that pops up out of the ground, that's actually a particle. That's not an actor or anything like that. That's simply just a particle that appears made out of a mesh.
Well, the particle spawns a mesh.
Well, yeah, the particle spawns a mesh, but...
If you want some, I'm sure we can send you some YouTube videos about these systems if you want to learn more about them.
I did it.
But we're going to be working on more Knuckles. We're going to try to get them done probably before we move on to Tails, but who knows. But I'm going to leave at least for now.
Yeah, unless anyone has last-minute questions, I think we're going to call it good here.
All right. I'll see y'all later.
All right, have a good day, Emmanuel.
I have a question. Why is Emmanuel a cook?
Why are you a beta cuck?
I have a perfectly valid explanation for this.
He leaves.
Yep, he's gone.
Yep.
He left. This is the part where the to be continued appears on screen. Duke, 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 duke. Bitch. Wait, will there be furniture like an Unleashed? You can add furniture. We might add destructibles. Haven't decided on that one yet. That's gonna be probably a no if I had to guess, because that's more so a like an individual. Say what?
An end user change.
Yeah, that's an end user addition. We can't, predict that what kind of destructibles and stuff that you would want to add. We could probably add a couple of like default ones, like a box or like the crates and stuff like that. We could.
Yeah, I mean the crates we are planning on trying to make destructible actually.
Yeah, but as for things like the furniture, that's more so based on the individual creators own ones for their own project. There's word to better describe that, but I couldn't think of it, so that's the words you got. But as usual, next Monday, can you add a speedometer and a Mach speed effect? We do have Mach speed effects. We do have particle effects for the Mach speed.
Speedometer is already there as well.
Yeah, actually there is a speedometer. This little bar right here, that's a speedometer. It's not a very accurate one, and it's actually out of date. It needs to be updated. But it is a speedometer. But the code, which after we update the code that this speedometer uses could actually be used for other types of speedometers. All the logic would be the same. It's just how that logic translates to the visual side of the UI element is what you would have to alter. But for the most part, whenever we do get this speedometer fixed up, you'll be able to use it. But we already do have Mach speed effects. They're kind of hard to see at the moment because, like we mentioned earlier, the particles are a little broken. But as you can see, this white particle thing that shows up, that is the particle, or the Mach particles. Well, they loaded just fine here. I don't know what the hell is going on with the other map, but this time they loaded.
I blame Emmanuel.
Yeah.
So that's my go-to with that.
So we do have Mach speed particles. These probably aren't going to be the ones we use near the final product. We're probably going to update them and change them. But we do have those already. So to answer your question, yes and yes. Well, actually, more accurately answer your question, it's already been done. It's just got to be changed and updated. Like I said, next Monday, all of this is going to be uploaded onto YouTube. So if you didn't manage to catch the stream, y'all can watch it on the archived video on YouTube. One thing that I'd have done is I have went ahead and took all of the archived streams and I put them all into a playlist. So if you want to go back and watch a couple of the other ones, you can always find the playlist on the YouTube channel, or you can binge them if you want to, because they're all like 2 hours long each, and we have like 11 of them, I think. Like it's like 9 of them. I could be wrong. I think we have like 9 of them. So that's like an entire day's worth if you just need background noise or whatever. See the progress and the progression of the project as it has, come along ever since we started uploading the dev streams and doing dev streams, of course. But yep. So, did you have anything else to add, Reese?
No, not really for this time. There's not much I really could say to it anyway.
Alrighty. Well, again, if you guys want to join in on the next stream will be on the 23rd, which will be the week of Thanksgiving. And I hope to see you all then, because we are closing it up here right now. I will see everybody next time, and I hope you all have a great day.
Bye-bye.